You probably know this feeling. You meet a woman, and you want things to work out so badly that you start pouring everything you have into the relationship. You're attentive, you're caring, you're always there. You believe you're doing the right thing because we've all been told that's how you show love. But then, slowly, almost silently, something begins to shift. Instead of pulling her closer, your effort seems to push her further away. This is the invisible mistake most men never recognize until it's too late. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't explode in a single moment. It works like a slow leak. At first, everything feels normal. But over time, you realize the energy between you has changed. Her eyes don't light up the way they used to. Her enthusiasm fades. And you can't understand why, because you've been giving more than ever. Here's the truth: what feels like devotion often comes across as desperation. And desperation is never attractive. Women aren't turned off because you're kind, or because you care. They're turned off because you erased the very qualities that drew them to you in the first place: your individuality, your self-respect, your mystery. Think about it this way. Imagine a man who always answers his phone on the first ring, who always drops his plans the second she texts, who never says no, never disagrees, never has his own priorities. At first, she might enjoy the attention, but soon, she realizes something unsettling. He's not a man standing firmly on his own ground. He's a man orbiting around her, waiting for instructions. The invisible mistake is believing that love means self-erasure. That by molding yourself to fit her needs, you'll make her happy. But that's not how attraction works. Attraction is not built on submission. It's built on respect. And respect can only exist when boundaries are present. Here's what most men don't see: when you give up your identity piece by piece, she doesn't feel loved, she feels burdened. She feels the weight of your need for approval, and that weight suffocates the spark. That's why I call it the invisible mistake. Because it hides behind good intentions. You're not trying to manipulate her. You're not trying to be weak. You think you're doing what a good man is supposed to do. But the psychology is brutal. When you stop being yourself, she stops seeing you. And here's the scariest part: once respect fades, attraction follows. It's not about one big fight or one bad moment. It's about 1,000 little concessions that make you less of the man she once admired. By the time you notice, it feels impossible to recover. But here's the good news. This mistake can be reversed if you recognize it early. In the next chapter, we're going to break down exactly how this shows up in your daily life: the texts you send, the choices you make, and the habits that slowly kill attraction. So stay with me, because once you see the invisible mistake clearly, you'll never fall into it again. Picture this: your phone lights up at midnight. She wants to talk. Maybe it's about her stressful day, her doubts, or simply because she's bored. And like clockwork, you answer. You push aside your own plans, your rest, even your priorities, because deep down you believe that always being available is proof of love. But here's the painful truth: availability, when it becomes constant, destroys attraction. Most men fall into this trap without even realizing it. They think, if I respond faster, if I cancel my plans, if I'm always there for her, she'll see how much I care. But psychology works differently. What feels like loyalty to you often feels like low value to her. Why? Because human beings don't value what's always accessible. We value what is scarce, what must be earned, what demands effort. When you're perpetually available, you eliminate the very tension that fuels desire. She no longer wonders what you're doing, because she already knows you're waiting for her. She no longer feels the excitement of earning your time, because she has unlimited access to it. Think about it like this: when something is abundant, it gets ignored. Air is everywhere, and we rarely think about it. Gold is rare, and people fight wars over it. The same principle applies to your attention. The more available you are, the less valuable your attention becomes. Here's what most men don't see. Constant availability doesn't just weaken attraction, it shifts the balance of power in the relationship. You train her, unconsciously, to see you as a resource, not a partner. You become the emotional emergency button she presses when she's stressed, lonely, or insecure. And like an obedient machine, you deliver. At first, this might feel good. Every time she calls, every time she vents, every time she turns to you, it feels like proof of your importance. But it's not proof of love. It's proof of utility. And utility, unlike love, is replaceable. The real danger is what this does to you. You start equating your worth with how much you give, how fast you respond, how constantly you're there. You lose sight of your own goals, your own boundaries, your own identity. And without realizing it, you begin to resent her. You wonder why she doesn't appreciate your sacrifices. But how can she? You've taught her that your time, your energy, your attention cost nothing. This is the trap of availability. The more you give, the less respect you receive. The more present you are, the more invisible you become. But here's the shift. When you stop being constantly available, not out of anger, not out of games, but out of self-respect, you change everything. Suddenly, she has to invest in you. Suddenly, she has to compete for your attention. And in that competition, attraction is reborn. In the next chapter, we'll uncover why overgiving feels noble at first, but secretly poisons attraction from the inside. Attraction is not a mystery. It's not magic, luck, or some secret formula that only a few men figure out. Attraction is psychology. It follows principles as real and predictable as gravity. And the first thing you need to understand is this: attraction is not built on submission, it's built on strength. Think about the men who are constantly bending over backward to please a woman. They silence their opinions, abandon their hobbies, and become available at the snap of her fingers. On the surface, this looks like love. But in her psychology, it communicates weakness. It sends the message, my value depends on your approval. And no woman respects a man who can't stand on his own 2 feet. Here's why. Psychologists talk about boundaries as the foundation of identity. Boundaries show where you stand, what you value, and what you will or will not tolerate. And whether she admits it or not, women test those boundaries. Not because they want to break them, but because they want to know they exist. When you give them up too easily, you prove that you're not grounded in who you are. You're negotiable. And negotiable men aren't attractive, they're forgettable. Attraction thrives on authenticity. A man who knows who he is, who values his time, who respects his own limits, this man projects strength. And strength is magnetic. It's not about being arrogant or controlling. It's about being centered, unshaken, and confident in your identity. Think of it like a tree. A tree with deep roots can handle any storm. A tree with shallow roots falls at the first strong wind. Attraction works the same way. A man rooted in self-respect creates security, stability, and desire. A man without roots collapses under pressure, and no woman can truly respect him. This is the psychology of attraction. It's not what you give up to keep her. It's what you refuse to give up that makes her see your value. And here's the key: authentic attraction cannot be negotiated. It cannot be begged for, bought, or chased. It must flow naturally from who you are. In the next chapter, we'll look at one of the biggest ways men sabotage this psychology: overgiving. Why pouring too much into a woman doesn't build love, it kills it. One of the most dangerous traps men fall into is the addiction to being needed. At first, it feels like love. She texts you late at night, and you respond instantly. She vents about her problems, and you're always there to listen. She asks for a favor, and you drop everything to make it happen. Each time, you feel important. You feel valuable. You feel like you matter. But here's the brutal truth: being needed is not the same as being valued. Psychology calls this the emergency button dynamic. You've trained yourself to be her 24/7 emotional support service. Every time she presses the button when she's bored, lonely, stressed, you respond. And the more reliable you become, the more she takes you for granted. You start mistaking usefulness for worth. But an emergency button isn't treasured, it's just used when convenient. This is why so many men feel invisible. They think, but I'm always there for her. Why doesn't she respect me? Why doesn't she desire me? The answer is simple: because constant availability doesn't build attraction. It erodes it. Think about it: what happens when you're always one text away, always ready to sacrifice your time and energy? You signal that you have nothing better going on in your life. You communicate desperation, not strength. And desperation is never attractive. The worst part? This dynamic becomes addictive. Each time she reaches out, you get a little dopamine hit. You feel needed. You feel relevant. And without realizing it, you become dependent on those moments to feel like a man. But instead of building respect, this dependency turns you into background noise. Predictable. Forgettable. The truth is, women don't fall for men who make themselves endlessly available. They fall for men who have standards. Men who know when to say yes and when to say no. Men who can provide support, but who don't sacrifice their identity to do it. Here's the key: your value isn't proven by how quickly you respond, how much you sacrifice, or how often you bend. Your value is proven by your ability to stand firm, to prioritize your life, and to make her earn your attention. And in the next chapter, we'll uncover why overgiving, the cousin of this addiction, is one of the fastest ways to destroy attraction. Predictability feels safe. It feels comfortable. But in relationships, predictability is poison. Here's why: when every move you make is obvious, when every reaction is automatic, when she knows exactly how you'll respond in every situation, you stop being a man she respects, and you become a tool she uses. Think about it. She tests you not always consciously, but instinctively. She cancels plans at the last minute just to see how you'll react. She criticizes your hobbies or your friends to gauge whether you'll fold. She pushes against your opinions to see if they stand. These aren't random behaviors. They are psychological tests. Why? Because boundaries reveal strength. Women want to know if you're a man who can hold his ground. If you have standards, values, and a backbone. Without them, you're not seen as a partner, you're seen as an object. And no one respects an object. Here's the mistake most men make: they confuse predictability with reliability. They think being dependable means always saying yes, always compromising, always bending to keep the peace. But there's a difference between being dependable and being predictable. Dependable means you keep your word, you stand by your values, and you do what you say you'll do. Predictable means she knows she can break your word for you, override your values, and control your decisions without resistance. And here's the brutal truth: predictability kills desire. Because desire thrives on polarity, on challenge, on mystery, on strength. When you're always predictable, you're no longer a man to be respected. You're a script to be followed. Let me make this clear: women don't push boundaries because they want to destroy them. They push them because they want to know they exist. Just like a tree with deep roots can withstand storms, a man with boundaries can withstand pressure. And only when she feels your firmness can she relax into respect and attraction. Without boundaries, you're not a leader, you're a follower. Without standards, you're not a partner, you're a servant. And the price you pay for that predictability is her respect, her trust, and eventually, her desire. In the next chapter, we'll uncover the hidden addiction that fuels this pattern, the need to be constantly useful, and why being needed is not the same as being valued. Here's the truth most men never realize: constantly being available doesn't make you more attractive, it makes you disposable. Think about it. If every time she calls, you answer; if every time she texts, you reply instantly; if every time she wants your attention, you drop everything, what message are you sending? You're telling her that your time, your energy, and your presence have no value. And human psychology is simple: what's always available is taken for granted. Now, don't misunderstand this. Pulling back isn't about being cold, cruel, or manipulative. It's about respect for yourself, respect for your time, and respect for the fact that your energy is valuable. This is where the concept of strategic unavailability comes in. Strategic unavailability means you're not on call 24/7. It means you have your own life, your own priorities, your own path that doesn't revolve around her mood or her demands. Sometimes you answer right away, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're available for plans, sometimes you're focused on your own growth. This unpredictability doesn't weaken attraction, it strengthens it. Because here's the paradox: when you stop being always available, people suddenly value your presence more. Scarcity creates value. Diamonds are treasured because they're rare, not because they're everywhere. Your attention works the same way. Backhand index pointing right, and I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. Have you ever felt like being too good, too available actually cost you respect in a relationship? Tell me your story. When you practice strategic scarcity, something powerful happens. The dynamic shifts. Instead of you chasing her, she starts chasing you. Instead of you constantly proving your worth, she starts working to earn your attention. And here's why: choice creates attraction, but pressure kills it. By stepping back, you create space for her to choose you freely. And only when she chooses freely does respect and desire grow. This is the turning point. It's where you stop being her emotional crutch and start being the man she respects. Not because you begged for it, not because you gave more than you had, but because you had the strength to value yourself first. In the next chapter, we'll reveal how the need to feel useful, to always fix, solve, or support secretly destroys attraction from the inside out. And why breaking that cycle might be the most liberating decision you ever make. One of the greatest secrets about boundaries is this: they don't just protect you, they reveal the truth. When you finally draw the line, when you make it clear what you will and will not accept, something remarkable happens. The people who were only around to use you disappear. The people who truly value you step closer. Boundaries act like a filter, removing those who were never genuine and highlighting those who see your worth. Think about it: without boundaries, everyone has access to you. The wrong women, the manipulators, the ones who only want attention or resources, they thrive when you have no limits. But the moment you put those limits in place, they can't hide anymore. They can't keep pretending. They show their true intentions. And that's your gift, not your loss. Because here's the truth: a man without boundaries doesn't know who is real in his life. He attracts everyone, but he keeps no one. Why? Because respect can't exist where limits don't. And respect is the foundation of attraction. Boundaries don't push away the right women. They protect you from the wrong ones. The woman who genuinely values you won't be offended when you say no. She won't punish you for protecting your time or energy. In fact, she'll admire you more for it. Because it shows you're not desperate. It shows you respect yourself. And if you respect yourself, she can respect you too. This is the power of the filter. It cleans your emotional environment. It stops you from wasting time on women who drain your energy and gives you space for relationships that actually feed your soul. It prevents you from being trapped in toxic cycles where you give everything and receive nothing. Think of it like water running through a purifier. The dirt and toxins are removed, leaving only what's clean, clear, and healthy. Boundaries work the same way. Without them, everything mixes together and you can't tell what's pure from what's poison. With them, the truth becomes obvious. Here's what you need to remember. Boundaries aren't about pushing people away. They're about allowing the right people to come closer. The woman who disappears when you set limits was never there for you. She was there for what you could provide. The woman who stays, even when you stand firm, that's the one who sees your true value. And in the next chapter, we'll uncover the final reality check, the hard truth about attraction that no amount of giving, chasing, or fixing can ever change. Awareness means nothing without action. You've learned about the traps, losing yourself, overgiving, chasing, fixing, and living without boundaries. But the real question is, how do you apply this knowledge in your daily life? How do you break the cycle and rebuild attraction the right way? The first step is simple. Stop responding immediately. When your phone buzzes, resist the urge to drop everything. High-value men don't live glued to their screens. They have priorities, schedules, and goals that come first. Waiting before you reply doesn't make you cold, it shows that your attention is valuable. It signals that you have a life beyond her, and that life matters. The second step, keep your priorities intact. Never cancel plans with friends, family, or your personal projects just to be available. If you had a workout scheduled, you go. If you promised yourself time to rest or read, you keep that promise. When a woman sees that you won't abandon yourself for her convenience, she learns something powerful. Your life has weight. And that weight creates respect. The third step, speak with firm but calm words. Boundaries don't need to be aggressive. You don't need to yell or argue. All you need is clarity. Here are some examples. I can't talk right now. I'll call you tomorrow. I already have plans tonight. Let's meet another day. I'm not comfortable with that. Let's find another solution. Notice the tone, firm, respectful, and non-negotiable. These phrases don't attack. They simply state your position. And the right woman won't be offended, she'll admire you more for standing your ground. The fourth step, recognize the filter effect. When you start applying these behaviors, some women will fade away. Don't panic, that's the filter doing its job. The ones who were only there to use your time, your energy, or your resources will leave. The ones who truly value you will stay, adjust, and even invest more. Remember, this is not about pushing women away. It's about attracting the right ones. A man who respects his own time, his own values, and his own boundaries naturally commands respect. And respect is the foundation of desire. So ask yourself right now, where in your life are you giving too much, too fast, or too often? Where are you sacrificing your identity just to keep someone happy? Those are the places where you must start applying this in practice. Because the moment you stop living for approval and start living with self-respect, everything changes. You stop chasing. You stop begging. And you finally start attracting. When a man begins to set boundaries, something powerful happens. He stops living in reaction to others and starts living from his own center. This shift creates what I call new masculine energy, a presence that commands respect without ever asking for it. Think about it, when you had no limits, when you gave everything away, when you sacrificed your hobbies, your time, and even your self-worth, you felt invisible. Women didn't admire you more, they respected you less. But the moment you draw a line and stand firm, the energy in the room changes. People sense it instantly. Presence is the first transformation. You no longer shrink, apologize, or wait for permission. Instead, you take up space calmly, confidently, unapologetically. You're not louder or more aggressive, you're simply grounded. This kind of presence doesn't need validation. It radiates from knowing who you are and refusing to trade that identity for approval. Respect naturally follows. Women may push against your boundaries, but deep down, they admire a man who won't collapse under pressure. Friends, colleagues, and even strangers notice it too. Respect isn't something you demand, it's something you embody. And boundaries are the structure that make it possible. And here's the most important part: desire comes after respect. Too many men chase attraction without building the foundation that sustains it. Desire without respect is short-lived. It fades the moment she sees that you'll compromise yourself just to keep her happy. But when respect is solid, attraction deepens. A woman feels safe, intrigued, and pulled toward a man who stands tall in his own frame. This is the essence of the new masculine energy, not control, not dominance, but authentic strength. Strength rooted in self-respect, discipline, and conviction. It's not about being cold or distant. It's about being selective, intentional, and unshakable. Picture this: the same man who once waited anxiously for texts, who bent his life around others, who overgave until he was drained, now he walks with a different posture. His shoulders are relaxed, his head is high, and his time is his own. He listens, he engages, but he never abandons himself. That man is magnetic. So here's the conclusion: if you want to build desire, start with respect. And if you want respect, start with boundaries. This is the path to becoming a man who doesn't need to chase, prove, or beg for validation. He simply is, and that's enough. Because the new masculine energy isn't about becoming someone else. It's about returning to yourself and discovering that the strongest version of you was there all along. We've walked through the hidden traps that men fall into: losing yourself, giving up your boundaries, overgiving, chasing, and the slow erosion of self-worth. Each one is deadly because it disguises itself as love, as devotion, as sacrifice. And each one leaves you weaker, more invisible, less respected. But here's the truth: there is still another danger ahead. One that almost every man faces at some point in his life. It's not as obvious as chasing. It's not as visible as overgiving. In fact, it looks noble, even heroic. On the surface, it feels like the ultimate form of love. But underneath, it kills attraction just as fast. I'm talking about the fixer mentality, the instinct to save, repair, or improve a woman into who you believe she could be. You see, most men don't even realize when they've stepped into this trap. It starts with good intentions. You tell yourself, I see her potential. I can help her change. I can guide her into becoming the best version of herself. It sounds selfless. It feels powerful. But it secretly flips the entire dynamic upside down. Because the moment you become her fixer, you stop being her partner. You're no longer her equal, you're her project manager. And nothing kills desire faster than turning romance into a self-improvement program. This is the next danger, and it's one of the most subtle psychological traps men fall into. And in the next video of this series, I'm going to show you why trying to save or fix a woman never creates attraction, why it destroys respect, and how it transforms your role from man to caretaker. If what we've uncovered so far has opened your eyes, just wait until you see what comes next. Because this mistake is not only common, it's devastating. Backhand index pointing right before you go. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below. Tell me, which of these traps have you recognized in your own life? Your story might be the one that wakes another man up.